Chapter 287. Ejane generously gave away several gold buttons pinned inside his clothing to the undergarbed awakener, who had offered assistance to his subordinates without asking for anything in return. He expressed sincere gratitude, but the man refused to accept such tokens, saying that he merely lent a hand out of sympathy for their story of near death betrayal by their former comrades. However, upon Ejane's repeated insistence, the man reluctantly accepted the buttons, his face etched with discomfort. Ah, goodness, you insist so much. Aren't these items more necessary for distinguished folks like you who have a long journey ahead? Anyhow, feel free to continue your discussions. I'll be outside. Despite his grotesquely twisted finger like appendages and scar ridden face, the awakener was genuinely simple and compassionate. After he left the room, Ejane could finally comfortably recount to his subordinates the ordeals he had gone through. His men were shocked at the tale of treachery they heard, and were even more astonished upon learning of his awakening, unable to hide their surprise as they shared in laughter and tears. As they conversed, Kana, who hid her face within the hood of her cloak, secretly used her abilities under the direction of Kishir. From various corners of their dwelling, the genuine worries of Ejane's subordinates that had filled their minds undoubtedly formed data and flowed into her head. Only then was she able to feel somewhat relieved. I'm not sure how those who despise awakeners will feel once they learn that I have awakened. If you feel it is difficult to serve me because of this, there is no need for you to return to our homeland with me. But Your Highness, our views on the awakeners have completely changed since we arrived here. We didn't understand when you suggested adopting a policy similar to the Or Empire to accept the awakeners, but now we do. Ejane had long advocated for Nalan to adopt a policy akin to the Or Empire to include awakeners in their ranks, but his proposition had never been accepted until now. However, he had now become an awakener, and his close aides had also experienced the power of the awakeners. If they could safely return home, much would likely change. As she observed this, Kana pondered on the awakeners who were still ostracized and not acknowledged by the society. Although she was lucky to have awakened an ability that went unnoticed unless she revealed it herself, which even allowed her to join the cavalry, there were far more who were not so fortunate. Take this village for example. Though the information she gleaned in on the way, Kana was astounded to realize that this village was an outpost of the Star of Nagran. Although she had assumed it would be a dangerous place as it was one of the organization's bases, the actual first impression of the outpost was nothing more than an ordinary village surrounded by a dense forest. Kishir, who had secretly received a report on the true nature of the village from Kana, fell into deep thought. He concluded that they should slip away as inconspicuously as possible once Ejane's business was settled. However, things didn't proceed as smoothly as anticipated. Just as they were wrapping up their conversation, an unusual sound came from outside. Startled by the noise of several people rushing by and distant shouts, Kana peeked outside, only to be stopped by the stern-faced host. It's probably nothing, but you folks shouldn't show your faces. I'll go check it out. What's happening? Ejane, who was also alarmed by the noise from outside during their conversation, displayed his anxiety. His subordinates responded to him. Perhaps a monster had appeared on the outskirts of the village, or more likely, they had bought ordinary folk like us that they found in the Great Serene Forest. Does that happen often? During the last few days we stayed in this village, monsters continue to appear, causing quite a commotion. But they said no one was killed or injured seriously. Remarkable people, really. So, they often save people like you and bring them to the village? More often than you might think. There are quite a few who escaped from being captives in foreign countries or from the begrudging slave trade. Many of the awakeners in the village have a strong sense of justice, so they couldn't just stand by when they saw people in such conditions. However, one of the Aegean subordinates hesitated for a moment before continuing with a gloomy face. Not all are virtuous, of course. As the village, a sanctuary carefully hidden away, becomes more crowded with ordinary people, conflicts among them appear to be on the rise. We have seen the awakeners who saved our lives argue fiercely with other awakeners in the village. Even setting aside the fact that this place was a base of Star of Nagran, it was inevitable that internal strife would break out in a village established for the awakeners who had been persecuted to live in peace. Kana's gaze shifted directly to Kishir and his companions, feeling the complexity of their thoughts passing over their faces. This is no ordinary situation. Before long, the host returned with a serious look on his face and addressed Aegean subordinates. I went to check out reports of a monster, but it turns out that armed men had gathered in large numbers searching for some guy who was picked up by our villagers in the morning like you. Why on earth were there so many reckless people venturing into the great serene forest at such a dangerous time? He cursed and then sighed deeply before continuing. They are still prowling around the village, but their leader seems to be quite formidable. I'm not sure how this will turn out. The leader looks like he's from the southern countries. I wonder what brought a southerner this far north. For a moment, Kana thought of Nathan Zuckerman, Kishir's adjutant, who had the distinctive red skin of a southerner. It seemed she wasn't the only one who had this thought, as Kishir, who had been silently observing the situation until now, finally stepped forward. A person found near here this morning? Who is he? We are not sure. All we know is that he was injured, fleeing through the dangerous forest, and we felt sorry for him. The man they had rescued had regained consciousness not long ago. As soon as he woke up, he offered to give them as many precious gems as they wanted if they would hide him here for a while. By his clothing and appearance, he was clearly not from the empire. Unlike the refugees or slaves who had fled here, he was wearing expensive clothes and wouldn't say anything about himself until new intruders showed up. There had been a heated debate in the village over this mysterious man. We were able to decide quickly to treat you and send you on your way because you told us your situation immediately. But with him, we have to be cautious. And now, this. Didn't he give his name? What does he look like? Ben? Or maybe Jen? I think that's what he said his name was when he woke up. As for his looks, all I remember that he had brown hair, but why do you keep asking? At those words, a rumbling noise came from Aegean and his subordinates. Prince Aegean, with his stern face, rose and addressed Kishir. It seems we are too late. No, we are certainly too late. Coincidentally, I was thinking the same. Then it would be clear who the trackers outside the village are. Things started to take a turn contrary to the intentions of the host, who had been trying to conceal them from prying eyes and send them off. Originally, they were supposed to arrive at the mountain hut with Prince Aegean and wait for the Paleta Knights, who would follow a bit later with the traitors. However, due to the unexpected presence of the traitors who betrayed Aegean's men and the outpost of the Star of Nagra near the hut, everything was drastically altered. They ended up confronting other awakeners from the outpost who had quickly gathered from the center of the village. Who are you? Who the hell are you to know the ones who came out there, the one who picked up at dawn, and the ones who had been laid down and treated for days? What do you know about us? Could you be the ones sent by the Lord of Tainu? Looking at the awakeners with their faces filled with suspicion, Kana broke out in a cold sweat. What should I do? Even if she denied it, they didn't seem likely to believe her. The look of fear in their eyes, suspecting that they were sent by the Lord of the Western Metropolis to kill them, was gradually turning into anger. Even if a fight broke out, they didn't think they outmatched, but they were at the disadvantage due to the number of injured on their side. Despite sensing Kana's anxious gaze, Kishir confidently stepped forward in front of others. So, what happened then? Yidhir, seizing the momentary pause in Kana's story, asked anxiously. A faint chuckle came from the invisible darkness beyond. What do you think you would have done? If it were me, if Yidhir Ale had been there and in the same situation as Kishir, he would have first subdued the ominous Star of Nagran awakeners all at once, cooled down a bit, and then proposed to talk. I would have created a situation for a conversation and then started talking. As Kana gave her short response while collecting her thoughts, she shouldn't know, she burst out into a louder laugh. That's exactly what Commander did. Huh?